I'm doing good because I don't have to play. The players have to go play. I think the kid's a special player. He can beat you a lot of ways. He reminds me of Michael Vick a little bit. Very athletic guy. Remember, he played receiver, running back there. He's dangerous with the football. I mean, it's a scary situation. We haven't faced a guy like him this season. He can beat you with his feet. And when he gets on the perimeter, he can improvise. And that's when I get concerned because a lot of times young defensive backs and linebackers, they have a tendency to watch the quarterback, and all of a sudden, he just threw one for 50 yards for a touchdown. So we're really concerned about him athletically.
And do you see that very often in college football where a team goes to this kind of a scheme offensively and boom, instant results?
Well, over the last 5 years, you see that across the country. I think Oregon was one of the first teams to do that. And that's the biggest thing across college football right now. You're looking for an athlete right now who can throw the football. And you run an option football with it. You spread the field. I mean, you see empty formation quite a bit. They were working 53 yards. And it's tough to defend. It's all isolation routes right now. You have a receiver on a linebacker, you play in zone. And then if you put a defensive back on the guy, they know you're playing man. So now he knows where he's going with the football right now. It's difficult to defend. And then the next thing is, if you have him all covered, he can pull the ball down and run it for about 30 or 40 yards. And it's a tough situation for us right now, for anybody really.
Coach, is it a unique system? They talk about it as part Texas Tech and then part Oklahoma State. Are they different than any other team, or does it specifically remind you of other offenses?
I see it as the same. If you pick University of Oregon, you see the same style of offense. The best thing about this country today, everybody wants to say, look what I did, look what I made. And I got to put that out that way because you know what? It's a lot of people doing that right now. It's a variety of all those things together, and you put your own spin on it. And so everybody say, well, I'm going to patent this, and this is my show. No, it isn't. It's a variety of what you do and your philosophy. And it's just that simple. So it's a little bit of everything. It's like you go and you make. I used to work at this place years and years ago. You guys know what a fruitcake is? And you put all kind of stuff in a fruitcake. Personally, I don't like fruitcakes, but they send them all over the place. You throw it all in, you mix it up, and all of a sudden, this is my fruitcake. Well, that's what the offenses are today. It's what you put into it and your philosophy and what you learn from watching other people. And defense is no different. It's all the same.
So why don't people like fruitcake?
Me personally, it's just so much stuff in it. What is that? So I don't dare to venture in things I don't know what it really is. So I'm not a fruitcake connoisseur myself. It's good to send it to somebody else, but I hopefully don't want to send me a fruitcake.
When you play here, were you similar to Quandre? Not just as a player, but you guys both talk a lot. He says that someday he'd like to coach.
Oh my goodness.
Do you see yourself in him a little?
Personality-wise, yes. I was a little bit on the outspoken side. I had the opportunity to see Coach Akers, yesterday at practice, and I could say a lot of things. A lot of times it didn't make a lot of sense, which is I do the same thing today. What's the difference? So, I had a lot of fun. I played with a lot of players who had a lot of fun. And back then it was a different era, and we all talked. And that was part of the game. If you could talk a receiver out of a game, you would do that. If he's willing to listen to you during the course of a game, that was his fault. And Quandre has a little bit of the old-fashioned mindset. If he can talk you out of playing a game, listen to him talk, you might win it down when the game's on the line. And that's just part of the game. It's just having fun.
Vance, you spend a lot of time around these guys. I mean, what did you see out of the seniors specifically after the Kansas State game? When things were kind of teetering there, season could have gone either way at that point. But what did you see out of it?
The guys that started to believe. They said, if we'd have made a play here, you look at that first touchdown drive, and we're going back to that game. We playing pretty decent at 6-0. They converted 2 third and longs. And we said, if we'd executed any one of those third down and long, the game might have been 6-0 at halftime, and you're still in a good situation. But it didn't happen that way. When we sat back and we watched the video, that Sunday they saw that. And they saw that if we go out and execute and play to the details of the game, we have the chance to be pretty good and win every ball game. And that's what those guys saw. So they started to believe at that time, let's just go out there and execute and take care of the details of the game, and we're going to win some ball games because of that.
Vince, have you seen a better defensive player in the conference than Malcolm this year?
I'm biased. He plays at the University of Texas. He's our player. I think he's the best player in this conference, period. And sometimes defensive linemen don't get the credit. He's a 3 technique. Defensive ends, they can get a lot of sacks. Why are they on the edge? This guy's involved in the run. He's involved in the pass game. If you don't have a plan for Malcolm Brown, you're going to make a mistake. You need to find a way to double him. He's the best player in this conference, barring anybody else. And in this conference, it's an offensive conference. Let's be for real. You look at the statistics, and I think we have maybe 4 offenses in the top 10 in the entire country. TCU is 4th right now. And I tell you what this conference is all about. It's about offense. It's not about defense. If you can play a little bit of defense, you have a chance to win some games.
Coach, earlier in the season you talked about Ridgeway, and you said if he gets mad, you want to leave the room. When he picks up a quarterback and throws him against an offensive lineman, is that the kind of mad you were talking about with Hassan?
You can't really speak that way. That's been violent. Football's not a violent game. You understand that, right? I mean, you do that, they might put handcuffs on you. But no, Ridgeway is still taking the steps a little bit at a time. He's gotten better and better each game. Potentially, he can be an exceptional player. And the key word is potential. And he has to learn how to do the things Malcolm Brown does. Malcolm Brown's a technician. You come watch him practice. He takes the little steps. He's detailing what he does, so he's able to carry that to the game. And Ridgeway is learning how to do those things right now. Each game he's gotten better, and next year the future could be really bright for him if he continues to take those steps.
Hey, Vance, is there anything special about Gary Patterson's defense? Anything he does differently?
It's his personality. He's aggressive. He has built a defense to defend his conference. He's going to move the front a lot. He's going to pressure you. He's going to sit back and play his defense. He's not concerned about other people's offenses. What he's going to do is do what he do best and say, now, you come attack my defense this way, that's fine, but I'm going to get after you. I'm going to hit your quarterback. I'm going to sack your quarterback. We're going to keep the ball inside and front, and then we'll come after you sometimes, try to hit your quarterback and rally your quarterback. So he's been the same since he's been at TCU as a coordinator and not even as a head coach.
Vance, can you talk about, I know Coach Strong talked about when you guys got here, one of the biggest challenges was just trying to rebuild the confidence of everybody and then try to build that self-confidence. Can you gauge, just your guys on defense, the confidence from that first spring practice to where it is now where guys are saying, hey, we feel like anybody, anytime, anywhere, we can go out and stop them?
It starts with when we first got here, one of the first times I stepped up to this podium, and someone asked me a question. Well, the players now, they're afraid of you guys. You guys remember that? I had about 3 people ask that question. The players are afraid of you guys. Now the players come up here all the time. They were at that time. They laughing, they joking, they sit down, they talk to us. And that's part of the confidence factor, the trust factor, and believing that we're doing things that help develop them to be young men to get ready for the rest of their lives. And when they start coming around and doing those things and watching video on their own and coming up to our meeting room, knocking on the door, coach, what's going on, just sitting down, that took to the football field. A certain comfortable level with the coaches, the trust factor with the coaches, and now believing in the system. And whenever you have that, I think now you can take the next step to go out there and win football games. And that's what you see right now.
But there was a real questionable time, like after the BYU game, Charlie talked about ripping the sides down. A lot of the guys were like, we didn't know what that meant. They really didn't know where y'all were coming from.
They didn't. I wouldn't either in that situation. When you have something that's the first time, something that's brand new, you sit back and you look at it. It's like a kid at Christmas time. You have that gift, and you're looking at that gift trying to figure, what is in that? What did Santa Claus put in that gift for me? So you're sitting there just trying to figure it out. You're looking at it. Our players were the same way. I like big kids. What are the coaches talking about? And we explain it to them to a certain degree. And now, don't put up the wrong sign. It's going to be torn up, thrown in the trash real fast. It's the comfortable factor, the confident factor that our players have with us at this time, and the trust factor. It's about one thing with anyone, no matter where you are, what job you have, can you trust that person? And these players, they trust that we have their best interests at heart, and that's what it's all about.
Coach will finish 500 or better after the regular season here. I wouldn't go as far as say it's a Cinderella story, but how is it relief that the turnaround's happened? You guys are 3 in a row, and you know it's back to where things seem they're up and up.
That's an interesting question. This is still not what we want to be. Our record is not what we want to be. You're at the University of Texas and people say, well, you have 3 wins in a row. Really? At Texas, it's not good enough. You can say it's the foundation right now of something that you hope to start in the right direction, but we have a long way to go. The confidence factor the guys have at this time, we would have had that going back to the BYU game. They were still learning what to do, how to do, and when to do it. So we have one more home game this year for our seniors against a great opponent, an opponent that no one has really stopped. They've been outscored by Baylor, but no one has stopped them. So we got to find out who we are. They're going to come in here with one goal in mind, TCU I'm talking about, are trying to score 50 points a game, saying, put me in the championship game. That's what their mindsets are. So we got to come out here and find a way to slow them down. And if that happens, we can talk about what you just asked. But as a coach and as a former player at the University of Texas, I'm not excited about what our record is right now. Coach Strong's not excited about what our record is. We're excited about the direction we're heading in, the steps that we've taken right now. But we have a long, long road ahead of us right now. And it's going to take a lot of work. And it starts with finishing this season the right way, at home, on senior day, with a capacity crowd of 103,000 people cheering us on and making it hard for Borkin to make those checks. 103,000 people to make it hard for Borkins to make those checks. 103,000 people. After you eat all that turkey and dressing and cranberry sauce, 103,000 people filling that stadium. Student body, go home, eat your Thanksgiving dinner, and come back and cheer us on to make it hard for TCU offense. 103,000 people, I did say that, correct?
Vance, when the season started, and some people suggested you might go 7-5, you were incredulous, right?
Oh, I was out. I was upset. I'm still upset with our record. So from that standpoint, from then to now, I haven't changed.
Right.
Because it's the University of Texas. And we've taken positive steps.
What would you think the local columnist who picked you to go 7-5?
Oh, I like to get them in a room back in the back door. We have a personal conversation. I can really let them know how I feel. I can't do that publicly, But at the end of the day, you look at our quarterback situation early on. We're thinking Ash's going to be our quarterback. And so it's a lot of what ifs. Losing our center, who was a leader on offense, that was a lot to lose. You always go back and wonder if Dom was our starting center for every game, what would have happened? What if? What happened was what's supposed to happen. And we were where we supposed to be at this time.
Is your defense going to drop off? You lose a lot of great seniors, maybe a great junior. Is the defense going to drop off next year?
Well, it's hard to talk about next year when we still got to talk about this year.
Yeah.
We still have TCU to go and a bowl game. And after that, this is something we could talk about at that time, but you hope at the University of Texas that we have guys that are ready to step up. That's been the history of, hopefully, a top-tier program.
Are you shocked TCU's at the top of the league?
No. No. I mean, if they played great defenses since Coach has been there, and now offensively they've really lightened it up they have an excellent quarterback, excellent coordinator, and Doug Meacham, who I worked with at Oklahoma State. He was at the University of Houston last year. He has a great offensive mind. And he's done a tremendous job. And they're very difficult to defend because of what they do. But you look at the skill set they have with their receivers. They play 5 wide receivers, and they're, I think, really good. They have 2 running backs that do a tremendous job, and they put the running backs out wide. They're just as good as the wide receivers. They're bad matchups for defensive backs. And the quarterback, again, like I say, he can go. He's a mini version of Michael Vick. Athletic, has a good arm. He's tough to defend. So, Doug Meacham is using everything that they have, and he puts the defense to the test.
Coach, obviously you guys are focused on TCU. As you mentioned, you played here. You know what Longhorns and Aggies used to be. You have any thoughts on the possibility of Longhorns and Aggies in a bowl game at some point?
That's a political question. I'm not able to speak on it at this time. I continue to see things about the Aggies and the Longhorns. The only people I'm concerned about is TCU. It's one day if you ask me not as a football coach and as a former University of Texas football player, it'd be a totally different answer. But politically, I'm not supposed to speak on that. Therefore, I'm going to take the fifth.
Somebody tell you not to speak on that?
Now, that really doesn't work with me. I always got myself into trouble. Therefore, I learned one thing. The best thing is to say nothing at all, and everybody's happy, except for me.
You're not scared of playing.
Again, that's a political question. I would make no comments about anyone except for Texas Christian University. That is correct.
Capitol right down the street, it's a political town.
Oh, my goodness. You know what? That is so true. I mean, I don't get a chance to look at the news very often because I'm here working, and I'm not going there. I get myself in trouble.
What was the celebration like being bowl eligible in the locker room? Did that have a lot to do with the celebration?
You know what? The players were really excited. And I got to be honest, for me personally, it's for our seniors because of what they've gone through and how hard they worked. I mean, I was really, really excited for them. For our seniors to have the opportunity to go out and play in a bowl game, I think that's special because to say you come to the University of Texas and your senior class does not go to a bowl game, I wouldn't know how that would feel. And I've told our seniors, I'm disappointed for them for one reason because of our record, because they're seniors. And last year, when we first got here, Diggs and Sid Reed, I had an opportunity to sit down and talk with both those young men, and they were thinking about coming out early. And we sat down and said it's twofold. You come to the University of Texas, number one, to earn a degree, because football is not guaranteed. And number two, to win conference championships, which we didn't get that done. But both those young men, they're going to earn their degrees. And then hopefully if you do the right thing and play well, you have an opportunity to go to the National Football League. I believe both those young men have helped themselves out by coming back, by playing in our system, and learning the game of football. So I think on a lot of basics, except for winning the conference championship, those guys have helped themselves out quite a bit.
All set?
And since we won't see you next week, Coach, you got a favorite Thanksgiving dish you like? You want to brag on Mom or anybody for your Thanksgiving?
My mom made the best cornbread dressing in the history of cornbread dressing. She passed away 2.5 years ago. I missed it. My sister makes a great cornbread dressing. She does. Learned from my mom. My wife has a recipe she got from Louisiana. Outstanding. But I think about that sometimes sitting down, it brought tears to my eyes. It was so good. I sat there, and my grandfather used to have this story, and I was a kid growing up in Louisiana, and he said after a great meal, he would get in his recliner and say it was so good, he had to unbuckle his belt because it just felt so good. When I think about my mom's cornbread dressing, it makes me want to unbuckle my belt and say, thank the Lord, this is really, really good. And I do miss that. I love my wife's dressing, don't get me wrong. But my mom was an outstanding cook. If she would have opened up a restaurant and sold that dressing, do you know I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today? I'll be living off my mom's money coming in, smiling with cornbread dressing, dripping down my face. I probably weigh about 250 pounds right now, so I need to unbuckle my belt. But that would be it. That would be it. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. You have a beautiful day, everybody.